Well, good day, good day. Welcome to another episode of Rob Report. I'm your humble host, Robert Bob TV Brown. Uh, Today we're going to talk about Biden's law, the 93 crime bill. Should blacks let that slide? Should we just let it go? Why should we let that slide? I don't understand that. I'm seeing the chatter online that people are willing to just let Joe Biden's past go just to get Trump in office. I understand the mission is to get Trump out of office, but you ain't got to let that slide. Now, had Trump came up with this crime bill, man, we'll be beating him in the head like a piñata, and rightfully so. We'll be taking this crime bill and cracking Trump upside the head, as Bernie Mac would say, till the white meat come out. But yet we feel that we just got to let Joe slide with this one. The nerves of you to bring this up in the middle of election, bro, we've been bringing that up every time Joe Biden ran for office. If you look at the optics of this entire crime bill, it is one of the most racist policies in U.S. history, but you don't want to come to the conclusion of that because you've never seen the mechanism of the bill from the inside. This bill is 300 pages long, actually 350 pages. Once you go in detail, if you just look at the summary of the bill, it's bigotry. Yet Biden proudly calls this Biden law. And I get people say, well, you don't never talk about some of the Trump crap. I've come to the conclusion Trump is far from my mind. I'm never ever voting for Trump. He can pass $2,000 minimum wage. Thank you very much. I don't vote for bigots. I don't put bigots in power, whether red, green, blue, or whatever. As X-Clans say, they can be from the red, the black, and the green. Sissies. I'm not doing that. You're a bigot, man. The only way I'll probably think about putting a bigot in office is if he's willing to do something for my community, strictly for my community and nobody else. That's the only reason why Dr. King decided to do legislation or push policies with LBJ. LBJ is bigoted as they came. He's a bigot, a racist all day who couldn't stand Martin Luther King, but he was willing to deal with it, especially after that first term that he needed. As a result of a lot of good policies came out of the racist Lyndon B. Johnson presidency because of political pressure, because of black pressure. We pushed that man to do things that he would have never did. So folks, put in the comment section, why do you think we need to let this slide? Because of Trump? Because you talking about it caused people not to vote for Biden and vote for Trump. Nobody, just because a person who don't vote for Biden don't mean they voting for Trump. And you people need to stop with this foolishness. Well, if you're not a Biden supporter, you're a Trump supporter. That's con artists. Let me put it this way. You can't do that. A vote for Biden is a vote for Trump. You do understand the philosophy of voting that in order for you to win an election, you got to count a vote. If your politician didn't do whatever he can to get that vote counted for him, then the fault is on your politician. Whoever your favorite guy or girl is that's running for office, if they didn't earn that person vote, you got to fault that politician, not the person who didn't vote for him, because that person don't have to do jack for either one of them. You can fear them all you want. You can scare them. You can put all the fear you want in them. That still don't mean, and me personally, I'm not going to vote based on fear. I vote based on faith. I vote on whether I can trust you or not. The things that you say you're going to do, I have to trust that you're going to actually do it. And one of the ways I trust that you can actually do it is I'm going to look at your voting record. See if you've done it in the past. I mean, you can talk about you're going to do all these things for my community, but have you done it and when and where? Don't just tell me, show me. Problem is, most of my people just buy the tale and tell them to show. Don't tell them to show. Show me. Well, we all had a past, and sometimes we got to let that past go. We all have done wrong things. Yeah, but most of us who done wrong things, we actually repented for it, made a statement. We went as far, even go to the person and ask for forgiveness. I teach on my other web show, Winning with Love, that, repentance involved being quick to do it and quick to say, I'm sorry, quick to say, forgive me, and quick to fix it and move on. That's how you do real repentance. That's how you really say, forgive me. I did you wrong. This was wrong. I did you wrong. And let me make this right. Didn't see that in Joe Biden. Matter of fact, Joe Biden doubles down. And why am I bringing this up? Because we are only a week to 2 weeks away from the election. There's certain things that Joe Biden got to do. He cannot. I stress, he cannot assume he got this in the bag. Number 2, you got to fight like you're losing even when you're winning. Number 3, don't underestimate your voters. Don't assume the Bernie supporters going to vote for you. Don't assume all black people are going to support you, because these people who may not be supporting you have reasons, and they may stick to that reasons. And you can't shame them for that. Shame on you to shame them. I could turn around and shame you for voting a bigot. You call yourself black and you want to vote for this white supremacist to be the president, whether you're on both sides. I can do that. Joe Biden's not a white supremacist. Everything in his whole past has been white supremacy. Well, if he can't be a white supremacist, Obama picked him. You trust everything that Obama did? He ain't Jesus. Even though you think he was, he ain't Jesus. Now, I'm going to go into detail about the Obama-Biden pick. The Biden pick that Obama. I'm going to go in another video about this because it's long. He ain't got nothing to do with Obama. Obama didn't pick him. And just like Joe didn't pick Kamala Harris, the DNC picked him. And there's a mechanism that caused that to happen. It's bigger than what you think. There's a reason for picking Joe Biden for 2008. Now, let me keep going. Should blacks let that slide? You're talking about 350 pages of a legislation. You're talking about 3-strike rule. You're talking about mandatory minimum. I can go on and on and on. Now, I'm going to try to make this as quick as I can, but I'm going to try to break it down as much as I can. Understand this, that the guy that you are rooting for, and I'm talking about you Trumpets on that watch the show, and I'm talking about you about what I call blue MAGA and red MAGA, because some of y'all, it don't matter what Joe Biden do, you're still going to vote for him. Same thing with you Republicans. No matter what Trump do, you're going to still vote for him. Joe and Trump can shoot somebody in the middle of Manhattan, and y'all still going to be forced to vote for one of these two bigots. Both of them can grab him by the pee because they couldn't wait, and you're still going to vote for them. Both of them are pathological lying. Both of them are bigot. Both of them have rape allegations, but you believe the other person did all that stuff, but not my guy. My guy won't do that. My guy wouldn't do that. How you know? You don't know that man. Something happened to you right there, you won't get no phone call of this man checking on you. It's like these people are in a cult, man. You're in the blue MAGA cult or you're in the red MAGA cult, and you're so, you hate the other guy so bad that you can't even think straight. I'd rather I'll vote for a ham sandwich. Bro, a ham sandwich can't do nothing for you, but feed you for a moment. Anything but Biden. Anything but Trump. That is not healthy for our democracy. It's time for you to stop voting out of fear and start voting out of faith. What is going to drive you to get out there and vote for that guy or that girl, talking about down ballot? What is the issue other than that other guy is horrible, he going to kill all us? Because both of y'all, they do, red MAGA cult think the same thing about Joe Biden as you think about Donald Trump. What is that 1 or 2, 3 issues that's going to get you excited to go out and vote? Not going out there because, we got to get this man out of office. This guy's going to, we can't get this guy in office. He go, oh God. What is the one issue other than that? Put it in the comment section. Don't tell me about the Live Every Voice plan for black people. That is not a plan for black people. That's a plan for all people. Don't tell me about the Trump Platinum Plan. That's the same thing as Lift Every Voice plan. You ridicule that plan, but don't ridicule the Lift Every Voice plan. You talk about Trump plan is crap, but you won't even talk about Joe Biden plan is crap. Well, it's a little more detailed. Well, details to me tell. It ain't a black plan. If you read into it, you'll find out it's a plan for people of color. They just using black as the title to make black people think. And see, this is what ticks me off. You think we as black people are that doggone dumb that you can just put a black face on the policy and put African American as the title, and under the subtitles is colored people of color, that we gonna buy that? That you can get some athletes or some musician to sit up there and say, get out the vote all because, or you can throw some concert and come on. Should blacks let this slide? Well, understand that your favorite politician is a liar just like the other one. Now, you can count who lies the most. I can't keep up with that count. Because both of them are horrible liars. Oh, you don't think Joe Biden lies? Joe Biden started his first campaign on lies. Matter of fact, let me get myself up here because I'm doing all this talking. I got the topic of the day up here. You don't think your guy don't lie? Man, they all lie. Problem is, some of them just lie like it's, like they breathing, man. What's up? This is me. Shout out 32BJ. Everything I say, 32BJ does not endorse anything I say. They should, but they don't. Anyway, let's get into this. I'm telling you, you gotta lie. He's been lying since he first ran for president. And he killed this campaign. Watch this.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden today faces a controversy. 3 weeks ago at a debate at the Iowa State Fair, he used phrases identical to those delivered by British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Biden seemed to be claiming Kinnock's vision and life as his own.
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania don't come up after 12 hours and play football.
8 hours underground and then come up and play football.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
There was no platform upon which they could stand.
The notion that every thought or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, ludicrous.
The problem here is that Senator Biden told his audience he'd just been thinking about these things, and he failed to give any credit at all to his famous British speechwriter.
I was thinking on the way over here. Now that's a little too much because, as you point out, what's behind the words? What's there? And a lot of people, the rap on Biden has always been that it's just a surface.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
But CBS News found a tape of a second instance.
It reappeared in the New York Times with a new charge, that Biden had appropriated a famous litany from the late Robert Kennedy about what the gross national product cannot measure.
It cannot measure the health of our children,
The health of our children,
the quality of our education,
the quality of their education,
the joy of their play,
or the joy of their play.
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
Joseph Biden admitted today that he committed plagiarism when he was in law school. He said it was a mistake, but that it was unintentional.
He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation.
I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again.
He was given an F.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb.
To the political community in Washington, it all seems of a piece. Plagiarism at law school, plagiarism on the stump.
The great communicator. Strike that. The great imitator.
You don't steal verbatim, or when you do, as he did 99% of the time, you give credit.
Biden's critics say he sells himself as a man whose words and visions can inspire a new generation in politics. But if the thoughts, phrases, and visions really belong to others, it's a form of false advertising.
Is it a wise idea, though, to take something that personal, anyway, from another politician and try and appropriate it to your own campaign?
I think it was a stupid thing to appropriate material that was really very personal, that was someone else's.
Most people didn't know who he was, you know, Joe Biden, and now they're going to say, oh, yeah, he's the guy who plagiarized. That's
a lot of people.
Politically, that's devastating.
These clips are devastating. He looks like a Joe Biden wind-up doll with somebody else's words coming out.
If they're going to do things that are stupid as well as immoral, then they're probably too dumb to have the job of president.
Voters are going to have to decide whether he was dishonest or dumb.
Senator Joseph Biden may have more explaining to do.
The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
And I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Joe Biden was victimized by the truth.
Bye-bye Biden. He may not know it yet, but I think this is going to be very difficult for him to recover.
Is Joe Biden dead meat, yes or no?
I think so.
Bob?
It's in terminal condition.
Terminal? Eleanor?
Yes, unless he comes in third in Iowa.
Morton?
Dying.
I say dead. We'll be right back.
He started out with his first campaign lying. Got caught in a lie, hurt his campaign, dropped out. Not only just lying, just being a human copy machine, plagiarizing and things like that. It really tore up his campaign, the first one, in the 80s. Here's what Johnny Carson had to say about Joe Biden.
Now, on the political scene, one of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech. And apparently, he quoted I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him, and then he was charged also with taking part of Bobby Kennedy's speeches. And Biden says, not to worry, he reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
So back then they was making a mockery out of Joe Biden because Joe Biden wasn't being original. Now, Rod, that's the past. Why are you bringing that up? Always remember this phrase, okay? Your past will determine your future if you haven't dealt with your past. Now, have Joe Biden dealt with his habitual lying? No. Just because he was with Obama don't make him not a liar. Just because he's running for president doesn't make him a liar. My whole point is both of these guys liars, and you want me to not talk about your guy being a liar. I talk about, but you don't mind me talking about the other guy being a liar. And look, I talk about how much of a liar. Matter of fact, he's so distasteful. Trump is so distasteful for me as a president. He should have stayed in his lane. That I don't feel the need to talk to him because I know most of the people I know are not Trump supporters. Now, if I knew something, I'll be on them all day about, your guy's trash, man. Trump, you're trash. He's trash. The only thing I give him credit is we haven't gotten in another war. And First Step Act, maybe, and doing a stimulus deal. Not making it hard or difficult. I give him credit for that. That's it. Not as a legislator, I'm not a fan of the guy. He's too divisive. He can't be a leader. He can't go out there and say, look, this is America. We ain't got time for this division. So, it's just, and I don't worry about trying to look presidential. You guys worry about looking presidential. I like a real guy. I care less about you being presidential. I do care about you, because you got people that look presidential, talk presidential, have the presidential address, and behind all that, doing some horrible things. My point is, this dude lied, just like the other guy. Both of them are pathological liars, meaning they lie like it's nothing. Being a pathological liar is an addiction. You become one with it. I know, because I've been one in the past. It took my faith to change me. That's why I'm determined that on this show, it's about where the truth will make you free. I'm going to always tell the truth. I'm not trying to appease to the left or right. I'm not trying to make you feel good or make that person feel good. That's not what this show is all about. That's why I lose subscribers, I gain subscribers. Because people can't handle the truth. I'm here to give political analysis, here to talk about news of the day. I may give you my point of view on it. I may give you what the truth on the matter. But here at the Robert Report, it's where the truth will make you free. I'm here to make you free. I don't want you going in the voting booth voting for any one of these turkeys without knowing what you're voting for. You're going to get that with me. So when things happen after you vote this person in office, you're not shocked. You can't say, I didn't tell you. I didn't share that with you. But let's look at Joe Biden in a nutshell, because we're still talking about, should we just let this crime bill slide? It's kind of hard to do that because it's still affecting people to this day. Let's look at Joe Biden and how he just boasts and proudly not only talks about his Biden's law, the 93 crime bill. Oh, Robert, it's not... Bills, a lot of bills last forever. A lot of people get locked up on bills that are doing things now. What you don't understand, but inside those bills gave authorities police overreach. How can you sit here and protest for George Floyd and all these people against these cops when the crime bill opened up the door for the cops to do this? That's why I say you need to take a look at this 350 pages, how it just opened the door to militarize police and give them overreach and give them the ability to do anything and everything in the name of law and order, in the name of fighting drugs and crime. Let's look at Joe Biden and how he talks about his precious baby, Biden's law, the 93 crime bill, that is still in effect to this day. It hasn't gone nowhere. It's still affecting people to this day. All right, before we go into this, shout out to leoash.com for compiling this collage of this. That's and I know what you're somebody say. That's right-wing propaganda. You can't propaganda how somebody talk about their bill. People, you gotta stop doing this, man. Stop doing this. The truth matters. The truth matters. To this day, this is how Joe Biden looks at his crime bill, and I believe that it's going to cause him to lose some votes. That's not the people it's not the people's fault. It's his fault. He need to step up to this thing and deal with it and apologize for it. That's what I'm saying in a nutshell, because this thing is horrible.
I had spent years writing what became known as the Biden crime bill. The Biden crime bill. The Biden crime bill.
Democrats right now, especially African Americans, have really looked back on the 1994 crime bill not very fondly. Hillary Clinton herself has come out against it, even though her husband signed it into law. Well, the author of that crime bill was Joe Biden.
The Biden crime bill. The Biden crime bill.
Biden's 1994 crime bill, while implementing sweeping gun control, also helped fuel mass incarceration with financial incentives to keep people behind bars.
The Biden crime bill. The Biden crime bill.
The Biden crime bill is before us. Calls for the death penalty for 51 offenses. A wag in the newspaper recently wrote that something to the effect that Biden has made it a death penalty offense for everything but jaywalking.
Biden crime bill. Biden crime bill.
The Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended once and for all this notion that is a hangover from the 60s, that somehow Democrats are weak on crime and Democratic presidents are weak on crime and Republicans are tough on crime. The truth is, every major crime bill since 1976 that's come out of this Congress, every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill. I like the idea they keep in jail longer. I'm the guy that wrote the bill requiring federal judges to keep people in jail 100% of the time for which they're sentenced, and in notable exceptions, only 85%. So I'm all for tougher enforcement.
Rewrote the statute saying burning the flag in and of itself is a crime, period. Boom.
We changed the law so that if you are arrested and you are a drug dealer, under our forfeiture statutes, you can, the government can, take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. We have laws in the last several years where we don't allow judges discretion to sentence people. Flat time sentencing. You get caught, you go to jail. We've gone from there all the way up to saying, under the leadership of Senator Thurmond, and I'd like to suggest that I take some small credit for it myself as well, and others, the presiding officer, that there is now a death penalty. And we passed it a couple years ago. If you are a major drug dealer involved in the trafficking of drugs and murder results in your activities, you go to death. And a number of other severe penalties.
Back when Bill Clinton's crime bill passed, Joe Biden was such an outspoken supporter, he said, quote, "I'd like to be running and have someone use the crime bill against me."
We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents, it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. I'm the guy that said, rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it.
Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, "I'm ashamed that I voted for the '94 crime bill." You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. And in fact, I drafted the bill.
All right, so there you see it. There you have it. He talks proudly on so many things, I've increased the death penalty up to 53 counts. And that 50-something counts of the death penalty? 50-something counts of currently still in effect. He quoted the newspaper saying Joe Biden wants to send you to the death penalty but everything but jaywalking. He seemed like he was pretty proud of that fact. trying to prove to Republicans that he is more of a law and order president than Reagan or than the Bushes. So what make you think he's going to try to do now? He's trying to prove, even in the debates, that I'm more of a law and order president than you will ever be. See, a lot of people are thinking that the reason these things are going on in the streets because of Trump. No, these things were going on before Trump. It's not a Trump thing. This is a white supremacy thing. Both presidents claims to be law and order. The difference is this guy pushed policies that clamps down. It gives the police department the ability, incentivized them even armed them to go out and arm pretty much military guard to go out in the community and crush protesters, to crush demonstrations. That policy did that. That policy gave them the guns, the artillery. It gave them the tactical gear, the tanks, you name it, the rubber bullets, you name it. That bill did that. The other guy didn't do that. Now, don't get me wrong. If the other guy can make that bill worse than it is, he will. But Trump don't feel like he need to make it any worse because it's just fine for him. But yet people say, we got to let that slide. I mean, that was back in 93 and you did the time, you need to do the crime. What you don't understand is the policy it was an open door policy for the police department, for the state, for the feds to do their will in our community. Well, if you live as an outstanding citizen and pull yourself by the bootstrap, you'll never have to deal with that. I see Democrats talking like Republicans. You never have to worry about that. I've been doing this for a while. Nothing happened to me. Don't mean it can't happen to you, depending on your environment. So one thing I can say about my mom kept me and my family out of the environment where these things didn't affect us much. But I myself been in an environment where I've seen these things affect them. I can tell you my story. One day I was going in, I was young in my 20s, that was during the height of the hip hop era, 1993, 94. I think it was 95-ish. I'm going in the store. I'm getting me a 40, St. Ives. I come out. The police do a sweep. Let me explain to you what a sweep is. This is part of the crime bill. They use drug dealers. You're catching a particular drug dealer. We got to do a sweep in that area. We're looking for this particular drug dealer. We got to do a sweep. But while we're doing the sweep, we're running your records. We're running your driver's license. We're checking you for drugs. And heck, if we find any drugs in that vicinity of the sweep, we have the ability to charge you with being linked up to that guy. We may even call that guy a drug dealer and you guys was working for him and y'all was just waiting on some instructions. That is a sweep. Well, I got caught up in the sweep. They tried to take me downtown and put the same charge. They charged this guy just had some marijuana in his pocket, but and he would probably just was gonna smoke it. And I'm not a weed smoker. All right, but this guy probably had the weed, probably going back, get a beer, go back home, smoke a little weed. Whatever. But they charged this guy for intent to sell, possession of drugs, intent to distribute drugs, drug paraphernalia. So they stacked up about 4 or 5 charges on this guy, and they tried to take everybody within that certain vicinity with the same thing. And we didn't have no drugs. I was just going to get him 40, go home, watch a little TV, drink, chill out. We all got hit with that sweep. And they tried to pin that charge on us. Good thing I had somebody from the church community come out and vouch for me and help me get out of that situation. I can't say what's going to happen to them. And they were trying to stick that charge on my record that they charged him, but it was exonerated. Folks, understand that this crime bill to this day still allows that overreach. Today. So while y'all saying we need to just let that pass, I can't let it pass because it's still affecting people to this day. Mainly my people. They still doing sweeps today. They still doing stop and frisk today, even though it's supposed to be illegal in New York, but it's your word against mine. Cops will, they want to get some information on you. They just go buy you and throw you in a car and take you and rough you up and throw you outside somewhere and let you make go home on your own. Overreach. Innocent people. Innocent people, not people who did the crime. You got to do the time. Innocent people who got tagged with the crime that they didn't have nothing to do with. And this was by design. Why? Because if we overpopulate the prison system, then we have a good reasons to transfer them from the public prison system, whether it's state or federal, into private prison system. And in the private prison system, according to the new Jim Crow book, in the private prison system is what they call it's the new penitentiary. Well, now you got a master and you're the slaves. And your job is to push out products for the corporate industry, and you can get little to nothing in exchange for it. And Kamala Harris was good at using that tactic to get forest fires fought on her behalf. No, I'm not even going into her and how she used the crime bill excessively in California. That's another topic. But see, y'all want me to take sides. I can't take sides. I'm sorry, folks. I can't. I don't believe in taking sides. I believe in taking over. I believe in detaching yourself from the two-party system and being your own block and looking at them saying, you want this vote? Then let's make a deal. But let's go into it a little more, because I need to talk about this a little more, about this crime bill. Let's hear James Clyburn and what he had to say about his role in the crime bill. Now, understand again, in the crime bill, Joe Biden loves to say most of the CBC, the Black Caucus, signed the crime bill. Most of the mayors was on my side. Well, if you're running them for office and they didn't support the crime bill, there were things in the crime bill that they can use to run against you to end your career as a politician. And one of them was the Violence Against Women Act, which was pork that they added into the crime bill. Also, gun legislation, which is pork they added into the crime bill. They wanted to restrict the type of guns on the street, but they wanted to give those guns to the authorities for them to use on the people in the street. So listen to James Clyburn.
Congressman from South Carolina.
Oh, hey, Jim Clyburn. Hey, how are you?
When I ran for the House of Representatives in 1992, I knew about two pieces of legislation that had gone on before I ever got here.
Drugs are menacing our society. They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions.
In 1986, the so-called war against drugs created mandatory minimums, established a 100-to-1 ratio for crack to powder cocaine, and put in mandatory minimums.
Now understand that. Remember, Joe Biden said from 1973, my name was in support of every crime bill up to this date. So here's Clyburn talking about his reason, but yet at the same time, he don't know he's covering up for Joe, but he's going to denounce that he's covering up for Joe Biden's crime bill. And Joe Biden said, look, every bill since 1970s, whatever, my name was on it. I was in support of it. When your name is on it, that means you were in support of it.
Now, mandatory minimums were put in 86. They were applied to first-time offenders in 1988.
All right, so this is George Bush. It was applied. Joe Biden said I was in full support of the mandatory minimums. Now, that was on my birthday. I wonder what I was doing on my birthday in 1989 when they came up with this video.
This is crack cocaine. It could easily have been heroin or PCP. It's as innocent looking as candy, but it's turning our cities into battle zones, and it's murdering our children.
In a nutshell.
Now, what they don't say is, and we put it in the hood. Yeah, we found ways to ship it. We use certain people to help us get in the hood. And there's various reasons why they put it in the hood, but let me let Joe Biden speak.
The president's plan doesn't include enough police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors.
Now understand this. This is Joe Biden saying, George Herbert Walker Bush, you're weak on crime. Your plan doesn't provide enough things we need to get the job done.
Police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors to convict them, not enough judges to sentence them, and not enough prison cells to put them away for a long time.
And when I ran in 1992, I talked about how bad I thought that legislation was. I was reamed. People took me to task for being against that because the public was for it. And we took this bill up less than 2 years later in 1994, leading the charge.
Now, I know what you're saying. If the public was for it, Rob, well, you're making a big deal. Everything is optics. It's the picture that you paint in front of the public. People like James Clyburn, Charlie Rangel. Charlie Rangel is crooked as they come. Charlie Rangel couldn't even run for office anymore. He decided to retire because he had ethics charges up his behind. I met Charlie Rangel a couple of times. Done some work for Charlie Rangel, Democrat. Here in Harlem, his office was on 125th Street and 7th Avenue, the big white building. I think the 6th floor. Working with some of the youth. I didn't support him, but I supported him working with the youth. Had all kind of bad real estate dealings, the whole 9 yards in New York. Overcharging for rent, the whole 9 yards, but that's besides the point. Another crooked politician. Like I say, these crooks are on both sides, not just one side.
On the bill, with African Americans from New York, Charles Rangel was leading the charge on that bill. And this bill did some significant things. Number one, it took the mandatory minimums off of first-time offenders that was put on in 1988.
So that is a good deal. It took the mandatory minimum. If you're it's your first time going for that, you're not going to get the maximum, which we consider the minimum. The minimum you're going to get. See, they put in laws that if you do this certain crime, you're going to get at least 5 to 10. But if your first year, you're not going to do 5 to 10. We'll probably allow you to get a little parole, probably even let you free based on good efforts. But not that second time, bro. Second time you're going for the mandatory minimum, which could be the maximum this time. 10 years. So he's bragging about getting rid of the first time offenders. We're not going to hit you with mandatory. You shouldn't. But he's saying, which he's not saying out of his mouth, but he's literally letting you know that if you come in the second time, bro, you're going to get the mandatory minimum. Now, here's the deal. Crack cocaine was nothing to play with. How a person get on crack is beyond me. I've sat in crack house and watched people smoke crack. I sat there and watched them spend their whole check and still begging for more. I've seen women who wanted crack so bad that spent their money that they're willing to give up, do any and everything to get their crack. They'll go steal clothes for you. They'll give you sex. They'll give you oral pleasure. They'll give you whatever you can just to get some crack. That's how addictive the crack was. So even though you slide, they let you slide on the first time offender. The second time you do this thing, you're going to get mandatory. Now, is that better for them in jail where they could detox themselves and get off crack? Maybe so. But the point is there should have been more focus in the crime bill on rehabilitation in a certain area of society versus just locking them up. Because now you got a person who couldn't control themselves because of an uncontrollable substance. The substance is telling them what to do. They're doing everything they can to get that substance. They end up going to jail. And now they're putting in a system where people can profit off their labor. But we'll get into that a little later.
Secondly, it instituted an assault weapons ban. Thirdly, it put in $3 billion for...
All right, so it instituted an assault weapons ban, but the assault weapons ban wasn't for the police department. The police department can have those type of assault weapons, but the drug dealers can't. I understand the drug dealers don't need to have that kind of weapon, those kind of weapons, but you guys don't need to have those kind of weapons too. But I guess you figure you have to in order to combat the drug dealers. They need to see that you got just as much guns as they have. But the point is, you're still allowing these type of guns to be available in this country.
Or prevention programs. Fourth, it put in the Violence Against Women Act. That's what I voted for. Now, we could not do everything we wanted to do, but we did all these other things.
Now, understand this. I honestly believe the Violence Against Women Act was a known, planned excuse for your vote. Everybody want to lean on the violence against. I voted for the Violence Against Women Act. So you're telling me you didn't vote for the crime bill? You voted for a piece of pork that was in the crime bill, better known as the Violence Against Women's Act. So, and let me explain to you that this crime bill was designed to be a catch-22. Now, I told you a lot of times in order to get policies pushed and to get laws made, a lot of it can be done without putting somebody in office. You can put your favorite candidate in office. The Democrats can win the House and the Senate and the presidency and still get nothing done for a particular aspect of community or things in general. Obama had the White House and the Senate. And the House and the Senate and the White House didn't do anything for black people, but did get something done for white women. Did get something done for LGBTQ. Did get something done for Hispanics. So you can't use that Republicans was blocking him. No, the Republicans helped him in those situations. Why? Because Obama had the popularity. And if Obama used that popularity like a sword, he could have forced people to vote for his policies. Either vote or I'm going to campaign against you. Bro, I'm popular as they come. Everybody love me. I can get people to love me and hate you. So they're going to use this as a scapegoat. Bernie Sanders used it as a scapegoat, and so did James Clyburn. Nah, bro. Don't use that excuse for why you voted for it, because you could have called that out and shamed Joe Biden and Orrin Hatch for allowing that to be put in the bill. The gun thing, I can understand that because guns need to get off the street. But is it really true that only drug dealers was beating up on being violent toward women? That should have been a separate bill. Let me keep going.
So I voted for that.
That Barack and I finally reduced the disparity in sentencing, which we've been fighting to eliminate, in crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. It was a big mistake when it was made. We thought, we were told by the experts that crack, you never go back. It was somehow fundamentally different. It's not different, but it's trapped an entire generation.
And so all of this stuff about the crime bill, people talking about, oh, you just giving Joe Biden cover. I'm not giving Joe Biden cover. I've explained to you why I voted for it. Go ask Joe Biden why.
You know, I love James Clyburn on how he tried to reinforce like he's somebody's daddy. And he's trying to take his stand. Bro, you did cover up for him. You cover up for him to the point that he is the nominee. And it wouldn't have happened if you didn't cover him all the way to South Carolina. You wasn't going to expose Joe Biden. Just like Bernie Sanders is not going to expose somebody. And just like people don't like when I'm exposing Joe Biden right now.
He did.
But people say that, you know, it at least perpetuated the idea that more people should be in prison. Do you ever think about that your support for this bill may have perpetuated mass incarceration as we see it now?
Yeah, I think about that. I just don't think that's true. Suppose we had not done anything and just let the 1986 and 1988 stay in place.
So he think about it, but he don't believe it's true. Obviously, you think about it a lot. That means you know this. You know it does that. And you're just trying to find a way not to feel so guilty for the end result of this particular bill. Disproportionately targeting black people and allowing them to be used for profit. Because that's what it's all about. The whole point of this thing is let's lock up as many black people I can and put them on a new plantation. And let's push the new Jim Crow. Let's lock them up for some of the dumbest reasons, just like they did for us when the Jim Crow's law were out. You know, I pee on a white man's road, and they're gonna arrest me for that, beat me up for that, and throw me in jail for that. It's the same freaking thing. And I end up having to do hard labor sometimes just because I peed on a white man's road. This is no different. And y'all saying we need to just let this slide. No, folks was going to jail for something they didn't do. And they were keeping them in there as long as I can because of this man and other men like them. Black brothers. I'm not just blaming Joe Biden. It was Joe Biden, it was Democrats, and it was Republican, and it's bootleg fools like this guy.
Don't do anything. Then where would we be? Remember, we took the mandatory minimums off of first-time offenders.
Yeah, and you still ain't saying nothing that impressed me. You took the mandatory minimum off first-time prisoners. But the second time you come in, you getting the mandatory. Bruh. Why I got to get mandatory for something I probably didn't do? See, guys, keep understanding some of these charges were fabricated. Sometimes the police planted drugs on people to just get information out of it. And once they gave up the information, they still throw them in jail for it. I mean, it's so many trickery and cons in the crime bill between the crime bill, police departments, and the legislator. Bunch of cons. Bunch of freaking cons. And you say, we need to let this slide. What he did, the bill is still effective today. It's not an old bill. This bill has not been revised, and it should be. People are still in prison to this day. People got trapped into prison because they got locked in because of this bill, and they found some way to keep them in there. Come on, people. Come on.
So where would we be if we just let 1986 and 88 stay in place? Do we get any credit?
No.
For what we did?
No.
Or do we keep listening to this foolishness? No. And that's all it is. It's foolishness.
No, you don't get no credit for your foolishness, James Clyburn. Stop using the Violence Against Women Act as a reason.
Near Orlando, Florida.
Stop using the Violence Against Women Act as a reason to not deny this bill. You should be denying and apologizing for it. But this is what narcissists do. Let me go ahead and play this one. Now, don't get me wrong. It was important to have a crime bill. It was important to fight the drugs dealers and the drug addicts. As a person who had no dog in this fight, but you were easily in a position to become one of the two. You were easy in a position to become one or two. And a lot of times people got caught in the middle of the two, either through death, either becoming a victim of a crime, or end up being accused of a crime.
Last night, authorities rushed a 30-year-old shooting victim to the hospital. Today, they're making arrests for his murder. Black leaders are calling such violence America's #1 civil rights problem. But many said the answer is not in the crime bill's call for more police in prisons. Religious and political leaders agreed today to spend more time teaching respect for life and the dignity of others.
Is that going to stop the crime problem next year? The answer is no. But will it, in fact, put us on a course to bring about real and meaningful change on a long-term basis? The answer is yes.
22 years ago, the country divided over a controversial, far-fetching anti-crime bill brought to Congress by former President Bill Clinton. Critics blame the law for record-breaking incarceration rates and with further devastating poor communities. Well, just last week, President Clinton, as you know, was interrupted by Black Lives Matter protesters upset about the 1994 crime law. Though the president admitted a year ago.
All right, so for you people who think Black Lives Matter, you know, they do got some Democratic influences, but don't get me wrong. But they, in their beginning stages, they did challenge They did challenge power. Now, where they at on that right now, I have no clue. But they did challenge power.
That the law jailed too many for too long while speaking at a convention for the NAACP.
Now, that don't surprise me, Bill Clinton. Now you come to the conclusion that what the law did. You knew what the law was going to do. That's why you signed it into law. But now you want to ask people to forgive you for it. I commend you for asking people to commend you and your wife for it, but that don't mean that people will just let that slide to the point that they're going to vote for you. And a lot of people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton just because of that. And that's a valid reason to not vote for Hillary Clinton. It's a valid reason. Not saying it's a reason to support Trump. Well, it's not a reason to support Trump. And if Trump had a chance to outdo them on the crime bill, he will. But this was horrible, and he needed to repent for it. And at least he tried, hoping he can garner black support. Be sincere, admit that you're wrong, own up to it, and tell people how you're going to fix it in your first 100 days as president. Bill Clinton saw the need to do this.
Clinton supported her husband in signing the law when she was First Lady. In recent days, the former Secretary of State has been trying to clarify her husband's remarks on the law without trying to denounce them. Now, Bernie Sanders...
You hear that? She wasn't trying to denounce them. But she was trying to cover up for her husband.
Along with 187 Democrats, voted for the bill in 1994, and he is now criticizing President Clinton, saying that he needed to apologize to the American people. Joining me now is...
Now, here's the problem with that. Bernie Sanders did sign the bill, again, using the violence against women as an excuse to talk about why I support this horrible bill. He stood on the Senate floor for quite a time talking about what it's going to do to black people before it became law. According to... the record, he tried to put in amendments to ease the pain on black people. But the point is, Bernie Sanders, you signed it. And you're using the Women Violence Against Women Act as your excuse, lame excuse. You should have never signed that. You should have denounced all the politicians who decided to put that pork into the policy. It never should have been in the policy. It should have been a separate bill. Now, I heard he did try to move to get it removed and make it a separate bill, but the point is you shouldn't have never supported. But like I said, it's a catch-22. If you don't support the crime bill, then you're against women. You want women to be abused. You want women to be used. You want them to be shot and killed and beat up. That's how they trap you into signing a policy. So I don't believe everybody wanted to, but they knew that if they didn't, that particular policy could have been suicide for their career. When I said it should have been the other way around. You should have denounced it and took the heat and say, I cannot vote for this bill because they stuck this bill, which should be a separate bill, in this. This bill should not have nothing to do with crime. Even though it is a crime, this bill shouldn't be in this particular crime bill, Violence Against Women Act. We think that is special enough that it should garner its own attention. But no, they didn't do that.
Congressman Bobby Rush, who voted in favor of the crime bill in 1994, he has endorsed Hillary Clinton. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.
Tamron, it's my pleasure.
It always is great to talk to you. Let's put some perspective on what was happening. You were there 22 years ago. Do you believe the way the crime bill is being described now versus what was happening on the ground in some of that video, is it matching here?
Chairman, let me start out with this. I am ashamed of my vote. I sincerely apologize to my God, I apologize to my community, to my family. That was the worst vote, as I look back over the years, that I've taken since I've been in the Congress.
Whoa, let me stop there. You got Bobby Rush, black man. Now, unfortunately, Bobby Rush, that wasn't going to save Clinton, and it's not going to save Joe Biden. What Clinton needed to do was what you did. What Biden to this day, with weak before the election need to do, because a lot of people are not going to vote for him just for that. See, Bobby Rush did something monumental. He said, before my God, I apologized in front of my God. I apologize for my God to my people. That thing was horrible. I'm ashamed. It's the worst decision I ever made in my life. Now, is he genuine about that? I believe he is. I'm assuming he is. Nothing tell me he's not. You can tell me he's not, but I'm just going to assume it. He's genuinely sorry for the wrong that he did by signing that bill. This is what Joe Biden needs to do. Joe Biden can't assume that that bill is not going to affect his campaign. And even though you don't believe it should, it ain't going to change it. The point is, it does affect his campaign because it hurt too many of our people. The bill is still in law. They haven't revised the bill. He haven't come out and said that he was going to revise the bill and throw it away. It's done so much back then. It did so much. It's doing so much now. And until they change it, until he admit it was wrong and make a declaration that he's going to change it within the first 100 days, then immediately within 100 days, he's going to do some executive order to deal with at least some of the parts of that. He can lose some black support. You can't get mad at the black people who are holding to their kahunas. You can't get mad at black people who have values and say, ain't no way. I hate that Trump guy, but ain't no way. I'm just going to let this guy get in power either. Like Pontius Pilate, there's no blood on my hands. I ain't got a dog in this fight. You did my people wrong. You did my people wrong. And y'all want me to put you in office? My vote will not count toward putting you in office. You could count me out like New Edition. And understand, folks, it is up to your politician to keep every vote and garner more votes. And the best way to keep and garner it is offer something that will get somebody out there to vote for you. Don't assume they're going to go out there and vote for you because you're D or R. Don't assume everybody going to vote for you because they're scared of Trump. Don't assume they're going to vote for you because they're scared of Biden. You got to earn that vote. Earn it. This is exactly what Joe Biden need to do to make sure he win big.
It was a vote that really was accompanied with a lot of hope that we will finally be able to deal with not only the issue of crime in our community, devastating crime, but that we will also be able to do those things and have those programs and policies to deal with the other kinds of issues, the other problems in our community. And what happened with the crime bill and its implementation was that there was too much of a focus, too many resources on locking them up, but no resources on love and compassion. And as a result, we have devastated our communities, devastated our families, devastated our futures. And you can compare what happened with the crime bill and with the reaction. Well, let me just say this. Crack cocaine and the crime bill were the two worst issues, problems, catastrophes that the black community has suffered through in the last 50 years.
Now, understand what he's saying for the people who say we just need to let this slide, forgive. This ain't got nothing to do with this person. This has nothing to do with this person repenting. This law is still in effect, and Joe Biden is still trying to take claim and hold on to this. He is not regretful. He is not repentant. He is not saying, I'm sorry. He's not saying it's the worst thing that happened to me. It's the worst bill I ever created. He's double downing on how proud he is for his bill, Biden's law, this crime bill. Bobby Rush said the worst two things that happened to the black community was not just crack cocaine, but the crime bill. Now that is powerful. The crime bill is just as bad as crack cocaine. And he's right. 2 bats hitting our community upside the head. And both of them came from government. Cocaine and the police overreach, the crime bill. That was white society or white supremacy or the top elite, whatever you want to call them, because most top elites are white, they're not black. That was their way of beating black people into submission, number one. Trying to take more land away from black people because of crack cocaine and the addiction. Lock them up, put them back on this time a steel plantation, and have them do zero to free labor. I mean, free to maybe a few dollars a day labor for major corporations in these private prisons. This man said the 2 worst things that happened to the black community is crack cocaine and the crime bill.
Suffered through in the last, the crime bill and with the reaction. Well, let me just say this. Crack cocaine and the crime bill were the 2 worst issues, problems, catastrophes that the black community has suffered through in the last 50 years. I absolutely apologize for voting for that bill. I repudiate not the spirit, but the details of that bill. We have not accomplished anything other than further destruction of our communities.
So, Congressman, I then have to ask you, as you have mothers and fathers, I covered crime and reported in Chicago for 10 years. Having the former president, hearing what you say now with this apology, is it enough, though? We were looking at a law that allowed for the prosecution of children 13 or older for certain crimes to prosecute them as an adult.
You hear that? You hear that, people? This bill allowed for the prosecution of young babies. A lot of these young babies got put up in the sweep too. A lot of these young blacks, now go ahead and add a lot of young blacks and Latinos and maybe some young white boys that like to hang out with the black brothers, all got caught up in what they call the sweep and all got prosecuted as an adult. And some of them never really sold any drugs. They were with somebody that sold drugs. The law allowed that to happen, that not only we not just go toward that person, but we gonna link them all together. That was what the sweep was all about. Why does she remind me of a black version of Lesser Bliss?
There's no one who would doubt the sincerity of the apology you just presented. But on the campaign trail, you seem to hear the Clintons having it both ways, apologizing for the crime bill, but then pointing to some of the good, if that is even the word to use, that may have come out of it. Is that enough for the black community to hear an apology, sir?
No. And since that time, in terms of my own personal activities, I have remained consistent in terms of trying to implement programs, laws and other programs that will really address the problem, the comprehensive, the overall problem that we are confronted with in the African-American community, led primarily by jobs and economic development, the creation of small businesses. Also, schools are still suffering, housing and decent housing in our communities. So, I mean, we have to look at the comprehensive approach. And the problem with the crime bill and its implementation was that it was singularly focused. It was focused on locking them up, keeping them in jail. And there was, as you remember, there was a serious, very serious problem in terms of crime. It was this epidemic of crime in its beginning as a result of the crack cocaine drug wars and drug-related violence. It created a type of violence in our community that we had never witnessed before. We had never witnessed.
And it was also part, and Congressman, it was also a part, though, of a conversation involving the Rockefeller drug laws that had been passed in the Reagan years. So there was a trifecta of crime fighting that disproportionately affected the poorest of communities. You're in Chicago. Crime is still high. It is, in many ways, some believe proof that the war on drugs and some of these anecdotal things that we get behind as slogans don't work, and it is ultimately jobs. With that said, you've endorsed Hillary Clinton. As pointed out, Bernie Sanders also supported this crime law here. Is there something more that we should hear from the Clintons? Hillary Clinton, even though she was first lady, she supported it. Bernie Sanders says the use of so-called super predators, in his words, we know what they meant by that, or what she meant by that. Does Hillary Clinton need to do more to mend this rift? What do you believe she should do then, sir?
Job creation, the creation of a strong economy in the African American community, investment in the African American community would be a great beginning for Hillary Clinton. It would be a great beginning for Bernie Sanders if he were to be elected. I've endorsed Hillary Clinton, and I fully expect Hillary Clinton to reverse the outcomes, the horrendous outcomes that have befell the black community, the African American community, the urban community since the passage of the crime bill. I want her to not just repudiate it in words, but repudiate it in programs, in resources. We have to bring more resources into the black community. And between Hillary and Bernie, I just think that Hillary is more conditioned, more apt, and recognize the issue a lot more deeper than Bernie Sanders is right now. So
I guess so, bruh. She the one helped push this crime bill. But for you to think Bernie Sanders' policy wouldn't do better for your community than Hillary Clinton is just crazy. She owes it to the black community because she was the chief #1 stunner, the promoter, the P.T. Barnum belly of the crime bill. So she owed black folks, and not only just resources, but she need to pay some restitution. There should be cash payment. Yeah, that's right. There should be some. There should be some restitution financially to the black community for them dumping those drugs in our neighborhoods, creating this trifecta, creating this tag team that beat the crap out of our black community. Reparations are old and reparations are due. Just on that alone.
I'm just, but I can only tell you, don't judge me by my head, judge me by my heart. And my heart tells me, speaks loudly and clearly, that bill that was enacted, that law, the crime bill, was absolutely horrendous, catastrophic to my community. The community that I love, the community that I've dedicated my entire life, made tremendous sacrifices for the benefit of that community. And I am, again, I must repeat.
Yeah, but brother, you still signed it. I'm glad you repented for it. I'm glad you realize that it's horrible and wrong. I'm glad you see the danger that has already been done. And I'm glad that it make you sick to your stomach. And I'm glad that you're saying that, Bernie Sanders, he ain't going to do nothing because we ain't going to find no way to get him elected anyway. But Hillary Clinton, we going to elect her anyway, so she need to get something done. But Hillary Clinton did not even stand up and say, look, I'm going to make this wrong right either. I'm noticing Rance Previous down here telling Donald Trump, give us all a break. The whole point of this thing is, this was wrong. This was horrible. This should not be forgiven and let go. I don't care who is running for office. Just because you hate the other guy don't mean that we don't need to hold Biden's feet to the fire for the wrong that he done. He need to be put in a position right now. We should be exercising our political power right now to put fear in his heart to let them know that, hey, bruh, you can't assume you got this vote. You need to get up and declare that you're going to fix this thing now, or you can forget about us. But most of us ain't got the balls to do that. And heck, it's just posturing. It's just talking. We don't even have the balls to do a little posturing and a little trash talking. Immediately give in and saying, yep, he did all this. He did all this to the black community. This trifecta, this double beat down, this tag team double beat down on black people in the black community. He instituted that. But I'm going to come up with some kind of cockamamie excuse to cover for him and say, oh, let's, no. You need to get some balls and tell this man, look, bro, you need to go out there. I don't care who's listening, get to the Biden campaign and tell Biden, look, bro, you need to get in front of this pulpit, get in front of this soapbox, and declare that you wrong black people. And that you're going to fix this wrong. You're going to make it right. And you're going to revamp the crime bill and come up with a new one. And right now, temporarily, we're going to put in some executive orders to deal with certain of the most hardest aspect of the crime bill. My first 100 days as president. We're going to nip this in the bud. That is what we need to be doing. Joe Biden need to be doing what he's doing, but because you guys are just letting this slide and don't want to talk about it and want to cover up for him because we got to do whatever we get Trump out of, you can still do that, but still hold that man's feet to the fire to repent for this crap. It's still affecting people to this day. So whether you forget about it or not, or you let him slide, that ain't going to stop this crime bill for allowing police to still beat us up with impunity, crack our skull, put their knee on the back of their neck, throw us on the ground, all to look for a so-called drug dealer or a so-called, you fit this crime scene, you fit the description of the criminal that we're looking for, all that crap. Still going on today.
Not only am I apologizing for it, but I'm ashamed of it.
And that's the position that Joe Biden needs to take. But no, as of right now, this is the position that Joe Biden is taking.
Another thing about how perspectives change over time. Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, I'm ashamed that I voted for the 94 crime bill. You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill.
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill. Him double downing for all you people saying, oh, he's changed. He's not the same old guy. Obama had some influence on him. Stop. This was after him and Obama was getting ready to come out of office. He made this statement on the Amtrak in the big plush seats. No, not at all. No, not at all. He's not ashamed of it. He's not repentant of it.
Put 100,000 cops in the street. When community policing was working, neighborhoods were not only safer, but they were more harmonious.
What he calls community policing is really authoritarian policing. Community policing is supposed to be when the people who represent your community are represented in that particular precinct at the police department. And they're going through your community. And they work with the community. They don't separate themselves from the community. They are part of the community. Now, they did some home loan programs. I think Jeremiah program where they gave police officers a good deal on a house to buy a house within the community.
Now what's happened is we've cut the funding 85%. We've gone out there and we're going through Baltimore now. Look at the areas we're going through here. I'll lay you 8 to 5. The Baltimore Police Department is considerably smaller than it was in 1985. There are things I would change.
So he's talking about put more police officers out in the field. All right, so this is the point I want to get to. Charlemagne God asked, what can we get for our vote? Now, I want you to notice this. Joe Biden will not tell him what he's willing to do for the vote for black people. Joe Biden will double down and said, I got black people support. I got it. I got more than Obama. I got it. So why are you asking me this question, man? Come on, man.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago, Sean Combs, you might know him as Diddy. You know, he said what I believe a lot of black voters, including myself, feel, and that's that Democrats take black voters for granted. You know, votes are quid pro quo, right? It's not like I don't want to vote. I just want to know what candidates will do for us in exchange for our votes. The same way young progressive Latinos, the LGBT community,
absolutely,
we want the same thing. Do you feel like black people are owed that from the Democratic Party?
Absolutely, Bob. What did I say? Remember when they said Biden can't win the primaries?
Yes.
I kicked everybody's ass. Excuse me.
No, talk like that. I need you to say that. You did what?
No, I won overwhelmingly. I told you when I got to South Carolina, I won every.
Answer the question, bruh. He asks you, what are you going to do for the black? In order to secure the black vote, what are you going to do for? See, Joe believes he should automatically get the black vote because he's a Democrat, number one. And Democrats better stay loyal, because if you're not, we're going to shame you for allowing Trump to win. And then they get other black people to take that same position, which is sickening, when we're really trying to do whatever we can to get these Democrats to do something for black people instead of keep using them for votes. So Joe Biden's sitting on like, do what? I ain't got to do nothing for you. I got black support, bro. You can't assume that you got some black support. You can't assume that. You got Latinos already going for Trump. You got Asians going for Trump. You got the evangelical Christians going for Trump. We're your only saving platform. We're your last breath of the party. You got to do something for us. You can't assume that you just, I got you. Your mind ain't going nowhere. I ain't got to do nothing for you.
Every single county. I won a larger share of the black vote than anybody has, including Barack. I increased the vote in Virginia overwhelmingly by 70%.
In other words, look, I got more black votes than Barack. The only reason you got that is because they got a greater fear in front of them. They're not voting for you, fool. They voting against Trump. They feel they got nowhere else to go. And for you to sit there and say, I got more votes than Obama, that's a spit in the face, man. Obama didn't have a fear. John McCain was not a fear tactic to get people to go vote. Nobody feared John McCain, but they show fear in Trump. And if Trump was not in the picture, you wouldn't get nowhere near the vote as Obama. You wouldn't even be in this position if you guys were not successful at using Trump bad, Trump scared, Trump gonna kill us all, the world is gonna go to end for Trump, but if I get in office, I'll save the world. Yeah, right.
Then, look, what people don't know about me is I come from a state that's the 8th largest black population in America. The 8th largest. I get 96% of that vote for the last 40 years. They're the folks, as they say it my way, brung me to the dance. That's how I get elected every single time. And everybody's shocked. I get overwhelming support from the black leadership, young and old. Every poll shows me way ahead. And it's not just, I hear this, oh yeah, old blacks are with Biden, but youngs aren't. Look at the polling data. Polling data, let's say it's off by half. Come on, man. Give me a little break here. This is where I come from. I got involved. I came home from college, and I had a job with a really fancy law firm.
All right, so he's going to go into detail on how he worked for the black community, how he got the black vote, and that was not the question that Charlemagne the God asked him. Charlemagne the God said the Democratic Party is taking advantage of the black people vote. We're the only thing that keep you alive to this day, and you need to do more for us. You do everything for everybody else for us. It's time for y'all to do something for us. So we're in a position right now that we can either make or break you. We can make or break you. The only reason folks are scared to make or break you because you were so good at painting a picture of Trump being the worst thing that ever happened since the devil. Since Hitler. And he answered none of the question that Charlamagne God asked. He's basically doubled down and saying, I ain't got to do nothing for you because I already got your vote. And for you to even think about leaving us, shame on you for allowing Trump to win. Shame on you. Bruh, you ain't doing that to me. You and nobody is going to do that to me. Bruh, you need to work for this vote. My job is to wake black people up to know that they have power in these parties, that we can sway any election. And it's good to try to seize the power inside, but you need to come outside and show them that you're not available for them, that you're not going to be used, that you're going to have to get back to courting me again. We're going to start all over. This relationship, we're going to start at the beginning. I've been your girlfriend for too long, been decades, and now you're mistreating me. So I'm going to leave you. If you really want me, show me.
I'm sorry, that's our time there.
No, I'm sorry. I know Jill has to use this, but I've talked too much. I apologize.
No, I gotta ask you though. You know, why so much resistance on admitting the crime bill and other legislation you are a part of was damaging to the black community? Because we had Hillary on a few years ago, and Ms. Clinton said that the crime bill we made a lot of mistakes with that, and she wanted to atone for that by becoming the next president. Like,
she was wrong. What happened was it wasn't a crime bill.
See, once again, not taking responsibility. Everybody else saying this thing was bad. But because it's his bill, he's double downing and he's not repenting for this, people. You said, no, he's changed. No, he's not repenting. He's double downing. He's not going to denounce this bill. He's not going to say it was wrong. It was the worst thing I ever did. It hurt the black community in two ways. He's not going to do what Bobby Rush did. He's going to double down on it because he believes that this is his proudest achievement. It's a bigoted white supremacist policy. And most real white supremacists are not going to double down, are not going to admit that they were wrong in this situation. The whole point of white supremacy is I'm never wrong. Trump would never admit he was wrong. And guess what? Joe Biden won't either.
It was the drug legislation. It was the institution of mandatory minimums, which I oppose. Mandatory, I oppose the ban.
I thought you was a part of that in '84 as well. The Comprehensive Crime Control Act that established mandatory minimum sentences for drugs.
And he was. He just admitted that he's been involved with every bill on that Senate floor. He admitted that he's been involved with every crime bill. He signed his name to every crime bill since the 70s. And now he's going to lie and say, nah, that wasn't me.
Drug offenses.
No. What happened was, what you're confusing is what happened was the Black Caucus came to me and said, look, I did this study when I was chairman of the...
What happened was, and the Black Caucus came to me. Joe, you're not the president. Why would they come to you? Why? Come on, man.
The Judiciary Committee. We looked at every district of the of the 10 court districts in America, federal court districts. And we found out that if you got arrested for robbery and convicted, and I got arrested for robbery and convicted, it was the first time, you went to jail an average of 13 years. I went to jail an average of 3 years. So there was this whole move, same time for the same crime. So no one based on their color could go to jail longer than anybody else for the same crime. So what happened was there was a judicial selection committee setting up that how you deal with making sure that the sentencing process is taken out of the hands of prosecutors saying, I'm going to want 12 years, 13 years for you, and 3 years for me.
Now, what they actually did was whatever the maximum was, we're going to have to force every other color to deal with the maximum. So if we give the black guy 10 and we normally give the white guy 2, we're not going to give the black guy 2. We're going to give the white guy 10, but we're going to find out some kind of ways to kind of take away some of the pain of that sentence. But we ain't going to do that for the black guy. Come on, man.
The end result of that was the unintended consequence, which we changed, Barack and I did, was the fact that you, in fact, all of a sudden, you could not lower my sentence or your sentence be lower than what was the average sentence for everybody else going to jail in the districts. And the other
Come on, Joe. Give me a break, because you signed on for that and you pushed for that, man.
thing we have to do, one of the things that,
That's why I keep saying, the guy's a liar too. He's lying throughout this whole thing. Go look at the bill and look at his signature. All right, so my last one I want to show is somebody who I considered my arch nemesis. Somebody who cannot stand my guts.
You want support, Roland Martin?
But I'm going to let him give Joe Biden some advice.
Really repair a lot of the black and brown communities that have been ravaged by the war on drugs and mass incarceration. Specific policies that you're outlining for that.
That's a good essay question and a good question. Folks, let's get something straight. 92 out of every 100 prisoners behind the bars are in a state prison, not a federal prison. This idea that the crime bill generated mass incarceration, it did not generate mass incarceration. The only bill, that bill had $30 billion. $10 billion went to making sure there was that it was for prevention. That's what it was about. Secondly, the court, I made sure there was a setup in that law that said there were no more mandatories except two that I had to accept. One was that President Clinton wanted 3 strikes and you're out. It was part of this entire bill that included the Violence Against Women Act, included the gun control efforts, as well as included, anyway, I won't go, it's raining. But here's the deal. What happened is the mass incarceration occurred by the states setting mandatory sentences. What happened was, if you go back and look, the Black Caucus supported the bill.
So he's going back to blaming it on the state. He's going back to blame, which he incentivized the states, send money to the states to do it, and then he want to push the blame on the Black Caucus. This ain't got nothing to do with the Black Caucus. The Black Caucus was supporting you. They were supporting you. A lot of them was doing it to get political positions and things like that, sit on all these committees. It's just part of the name of the game. They supported you, Joe. Stop blaming. He's blaming it on everybody but himself. So it's like Hillary Clinton and Russiagate. Own up to your own responsibility, dude. That is the badge of a real leader.
The reason why the Black Caucus supported the bill is because we made sure, I had a study done by my staff, and we found out, I remember, Judge, you and I talking about this. The fact of the matter is that the vast majority of people for a first-time offense, if they were black, they went to jail 3 times as long as of a white. For example, it used to be 0 to 13 years for robbery. We went into every major of the 10 circuit court districts. What were the sentences given to people who, if you're a white guy and you committed robbery the first time, you got, if memory serves me, between 1 and 3 years. If you're African American, got between 7 and 9 years. So we set up the same crime, same time for the same crime.
Barbara, your thoughts on, again, Joe Biden offering a vigorous defense of the 94 crime bill?
It's indefensible. The 1994 crime bill unquestionably helped to contribute to mass incarceration. Any position that doesn't acknowledge that is dishonest.
And in fact, Bill Clinton admitted that in 2016 that at the NAACP that it contributed to mass incarceration.
I was there when he did that, and it was very profound when he did that, because one thing that Joe Biden has a problem with, we saw this with the Anita Hill issue, and we're now seeing this again with the crime bill. And that is being honest and saying, I really messed up, and not having to be drugged after considerable heat and fire to saying the truth. And what bothers me about this one is that as president, he will have authority over more policy. I do think that if he can't be honest about the harm he's caused, then he cannot think that some of us will give him our votes.
John, here's the thing. This is one of those things when the Anita Hill story came.
Now, this young lady is right on the money. You got to stop this, Joe. This you're proving to people that are very knowledgeable about white supremacy, and you're proving them right, because white supremacy cannot admit they were wrong. They cannot do it. If they do, that takes away the Supremacy Act. Now, the whole thing is this. I'm doing this video not as political advice, but to help people understand that if Joe Biden lose some of the black vote, some of the Latino votes, because Latinos was affected by this bill too, if he lose it, it's his own fault. He letting his own pride get in the way. Now, some of you are forgiving. Some of you say, "Oh, that's just a pass." Some of you say, "Well, Obama approved of him, and you know he's on Team Obama, and Obama gonna advise you." I'm gonna go into that another day. Obama did not approve of Joe Biden until after he saw the reason he needed to have Joe Biden on his team. Always remember this, folks. The guy who is running for office don't make the decision on the VP. He probably can finalize it. He probably can give an input. But the ultimate decision on who is VP come from the DNC and focus groups. Who has the ability to pull votes from this place, that place? That's who make the decision. Howard Dean did it with Obama. Told him to go for Joe. Rust Belt is not going to go for Hillary Clinton. They don't see a woman as president, number one, and she and her husband is very instrumental in killing their economy. That's not going to happen. Joe is your guy. Can't use John Edwards. Dude out there cheating around on his wife with cancer. That ain't going to happen. Got another woman pregnant. That ain't happening. Same thing with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris can kind of lock in the black vote, kind of lock in the black women vote. As long as these black people don't investigate her and find out who she really is, no problem. But it all boils down to the person who's running for office. Joe Biden's record is still intact. That crime bill is one of the most racist, bigoted policies in U.S. history. And instead of being ashamed of it like Hillary Clinton so-called is, Bill Clinton so-called is, definitely Bobby Rush, instead of doing what Bobby Rush did, he's doubled down on it. And that's going to cause some people to say no to Joe. In the face of the fear for Trump, they're going to say no to Joe because they believe that if Joe have not truly repented from his past, even though you think he has, it doesn't matter whether you think he has or not. He has not. And has doubled down and prove he has not. And if Joe don't really understand, if somebody don't wake Joe up, Simone Sanders, whoever, don't wake Joe up and say, Joe, this thing is still affecting people today. This is still policy today. The reason we got the George Floyd and all that ain't got nothing to do with Trump. It's police officers thinking they can do anything whenever they want, when they want. Your bill gives them the leeway to do still to this day. Stop and frisk, sweep. Still give them the ability to do that. You need to get out there and repent and make a declaration in the first 100 days that you're going to scrap this bill and come up with a new policy. And that right now, you're going to put in effect a few things as an executive order to make that happen.
This is a bill that Senator Bernie Sanders voted for, but he also criticized it. He said he did not want to vote for it, but because it had issue dealing with violence against women and other measures in it, that's why he voted for it, which is why they put all those things together.
That is the reason why most people voted for it, is because those bigoted on the Republican side and Democrat in the House and Senate who wanted to use this as a way to put black people back in the position where they're being controlled. They put that in there. So if you do not support us on this bill, we're going to call you out for not loving women. anti-women. And, you know, Bernie Sanders was going to say, it's still a lame excuse. I just got to take the heat, bruh. Call me whatever you want. I'm not going to put people in that position. I'll do my own Violence Against Women Act. So it's still a lame excuse, but a lot of people actually thought that. And plus, Biden held positions of power that he can give extra jobs, different committees to these people who signed his bill. So like I said before, a lot of people think the only way we can get laws changed is by putting in people who we believe should be in the office. It can. But yet you can put people in office who you believe should be in office. They can actually sit in the seat of office, but that don't mean they're going to change one thing for you. They use political pressure, a lot of whipping, a lot of lobbying, applying pressure on these politicians to sign these bills. And pork is one of them.
But this is one of those deals where if you're Joe Biden, dude, you're not going to win on this one. This is one where you just simply say, here were the things that was good about it. But yes, do the same thing Bill Clinton did, because Bill Clinton learned the lesson. He sparred with a protester. He went back and forth. Hillary Clinton did.
Yes.
It's one of those things where in politics, guess what? You cut bait, and you go ahead and leave. If he tries to stand on this, it's going to be a problem for him with young African-American voters.
No way.
The question is,
what the hell should he do?
He should look in the mirror, and he should say, maybe what you feel is the right thing is not being perceived as the right thing. Because I don't believe that Joe Biden is anyway a bad person.
Of course, you're not, white man.
I believe he really believes that he is not anything but a friend to the African-American community.
We got a lot of slave owners back in the plantation that believed they were a good master. I'm not as harsh as that master down the street. I actually got good relationships with my slaves.
I think that's the problem. He doesn't think that he's done anything wrong.
But here's the deal, Johanna. This is not about who's a friend and who.
He doesn't think that way because that's just how white supremacists think. They don't do no wrong. They don't do no wrong. And I'll say it loud and clear over and over again. Joe Biden's a white supremacist bigot. He's just not up front and brash and loudmouth with it like Donald Trump. But don't you make mistake, he is one. And just because Obama picked him as his VP, which he really didn't, Howard Dean did, doesn't mean he's not. Just because he's surrounded himself with black people and got a black VP doesn't mean he's not.
What Mr. Biden needs to do is essentially just to own up to it and say, you know what, I made a mistake. And as my co-panelist indicated, this is someone who is going to be in charge of foreign policies. If you cannot own up to your mistake, and we get it, people evolve, right? And it's not necessarily an issue, I think, it's not an issue where Mr. Biden intentionally supported or introduced legislation that would have a disproportionate impact on the black community. I think that there is a part of him perhaps wanted to help, and in the implementation of the policy, it ended up being detrimental to the black community. So
stop that, sister. There's not a part of him that wanted to help. It's not. If there was a part of him that wanted to be helped, he would have put that in the bill. This is Biden's law we're talking about, not somebody else's law.
Own it. Say, you know what? This policy has broken up families. It has truly damaged the black community. I'm sorry. What do we have to do moving forward? And be open to accept policy proposals from experts in the community, such as yourself.
Why Joe Biden fails on this? First of all, he is correct in the video that most of the prisoners in America are on the state level.
Absolutely.
Yes, and you got to understand how they become in state level. Because they incentivize the state to put them in state penitentiary instead of federal penitentiary, mainly try to hold them up in the county jail. They try to work through the county to the state. And both of them were being utilized for the private prison system to take on some of these people so they can do business with the labor to make products for corporations, pretty much for free.
And the crime bill was specific to federal. But here's where he makes the mistake, John. The crime bill provided economic incentives for states to change their sentencing guidelines. States look to the federal government to take a lead. Bill Clinton, Joe Biden said in the video, insisted on 3 strikes. Well, when the federal level said 3 strikes, the states then went, cool, 3 strikes. And again, the proof is in the pudding. In the actual budget, and again, a fact check was done on it. And the reality is that what the crime bill offered grants for new prisons to states that impose truth in sentencing policies, which impose mandatory minimums. The mass incarceration, it exploded as a result of the mandatory minimums. And that's what Joe Biden has to own up to.
Well, Joe, own up to it, because there's...
And I'm going to leave it right there because Roland Martin probably give me a strike. Few things got to happen before you go into the voting booth. I don't tell people who to vote for. I just know how I vote. I shared it up here with people. I understand where you're coming from if you got to vote for the lesser of the 2 evils and you think Joe Biden is the lesser of the 2 evils. I understand you got to vote for the lesser of the bigot, the lesser of the rapist, the lesser of the... I understand all that. So you feel the number one things we need to, as Bernie says, we need to get rid of Trump. We'll put in Joe Biden, another bigot, but he's not as bigoted up front. He's not going to egg on white supremacy nationwide. You do understand that white supremacy will be enforced even more when Trump loses. White supremacy always been around. Hate groups always been around. Hate groups are developed every day. People are always looking for a reason to hate. I'm trying to give advice to Joe Biden if he wants to win, and I shouldn't be giving advice to nobody. 2 things you need to do. You need to be vocal now, between now and the end of this week, on some new things that you're going to do for progressives to get like in the progressive vote. Then you got to talk about some things that you're going to do for black people to lock it in. You got to give a reason people to get out to the polls. Being scared of... Fear of Trump don't scare everybody. I'm letting you know it doesn't. And even though you think it should, it doesn't. You got to give people a reason to go out and vote. And I say come up with a few things for blacks, come up with a few things for progressives, and you'll gain more votes. Because too many people are going to sit home. Can't get mad at them. I know you want to, and you want to vote to shame them, but you can't get mad at them because they believe they got a logical reason to vote to not go to the polls. You ignored everything that they wanted to happen in America, and some of you just doubled down and spit in the face of them and still expecting them to get out and vote for your behind. And that goes for Trump, and that goes for Joe Biden. Then you're going to be loud and proud about some of the things you're not going to do for them that you said you were going to do, and you done turn around and turned your back on them, and you expect them to still support you. How did that work in 2016? Yeah, you're going to blame the Supreme Court and everything on them? No, you got to blame Supreme Court and everything on yourself because you didn't want to get off your high horse and your uppity elitist behind and start doing things for those progressives, start doing things for black people. And for all you people who out here voted shaming everybody, you got to understand, if your candidate do not win, you cannot vote the voter. He got to do whatever he can to get that voter to come out. At the end of the day, you own nobody vote. And nobody has to vote for you. And you can use that, our forefathers died for you to vote. They didn't die for you to vote for foolishness. They died for you to vote for something. Black empowerment. Black prosperity. Nobody's talking about this in either campaign. And when somebody say in order to get the black vote, you got to start pushing this, you look at him like he's crazy. No, you got to look at yourself, because for decades, these people continue to count on our vote, but yet do nothing for us. And we need to look at ourselves, understanding that we have not woken up to how much power as black people that we have. That the only reason the Democratic Party is alive is because we keep giving it life. And just like that, we can snap it away from them. Realize your power, black people. And see, I'm of the order. I'm independent. I stand on the side that you're not going to count on my support. You got to come get it. You can do whatever you can to try to con me into supporting you. No, you got to come better than that. You better offer me something. And if we can get every black person on that same page, we will get more done for black people in the next 5 years than we've done in 50. But as long as you keep showing your loyalty and support to a party and a man that run the party, the longer they will take advantage of you. It's just like that spouse who husband, oh, I love my husband. He can never do no wrong. And if he got that mentality that he can and you ain't going nowhere, you ain't never leaving him. And you'll never get what you want as a wife. But when you show your value to him and let him know, bro, I'm valuable. If you're not going to take care of me, I'm out. He'd be like, Gina. So I'm done with this episode of Rob Report. People want to say we need, crime bill was way back in the past. No, it's still in effect today, baby. People still in jail because of it. They're still using these policies to beef up police. They're still using the policies of the crime bill to continue to do a police overreach. A lot of stuff that you see these cops doing is because they've been emboldened, not by Trump, but by that crime bill. They know they ain't gonna seek no time for it. And all the politicians coming out saying it's the worst thing that ever happened to my community. I'm sorry, Joe Biden need to have the same thing if he want to. He don't realize how much more black support locked in that he can get because he think he got it locked in. You don't. Lock it in. To not do it can cause you the election. And who fault would that be, Joe Biden? It's not mine. It's yours. Because you didn't do whatever you need to do to get that vote. By any means necessary. Including admit you're wrong.